Welcome to Abandoned Albums, the documentary podcast. Each week, our intrepid group of researchers and music archivists dig through the record crates of the world, finding those albums that may have been lost over time. If a new artist is discovered along the way, that's all the better. Using a patent-pending algorithm and spirited debate, we pick one album to discuss. Once that is settled, we will invite the artists to Thunderlove Studio to chat with your host, Keith R. Higgins. When we're lucky, they say yes. Our mission with Abandoned Albums is simple: to make sure artists' recorded work remains, or in some cases, lands on, the cultural radar. We invite you to sit back and relax. Thank you for joining us.
You're hearing the latest single by Mapping the Sky, Home. Mapping the Sky is the brainchild of Jordin Swanson, at times a powder keg of raw guitars, at others soft and acoustic, but always a diverse blend loaded with integrity and artistry. Mapping the Sky's sound is a unique blend that draws inspiration from the likes of Kings of Leon, David Bowie, and Radiohead. If these iconic artists were to collaborate, you'd have a pretty good idea of what Mapping the Sky sounds like, creating a sense of familiarity and connection for the audience. I sat down with Jordin a few weeks ago to chat about his debut album, Here and Not Here. As you'll soon discover, I found him to be passionate, authentic, and fun. Here's my conversation with Jordin Swanson of Mapping the Sky.
Hey, Troy.
Jordin Swanson, Mapping the Sky, welcome to Abandoned Albums.
Thanks, Keith. I really appreciate you having me on. Can't wait to talk to you some more.
Yeah. How are you doing tonight? Good?
I'm good. I'm very good.
Where is home for you?
So I live in Oklahoma City, kind of pretty close to downtown Oklahoma City.
Jane, what can you tell me about this man you saw last night?
He's Caucasian.
Caucasian?
Yeah, a white guy. With a mustache, about 6'3".
An awfully big mustache.
What was the moment? Did you have a specific moment where you realized music is something special, more than just something that you listen to, that you said, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So there were kind of a lot of moments when I was growing up that kind of pulled me in. But I know that the moment I found a guitar, it was like my sister's old guitar, it was like in a closet or something. I immediately wanted to learn how to play. And when I started to learn how to play, the last thing I wanted to do was learn other people's songs. So I would just try to fiddle around and write songs. And then I was able to learn more about music over the years. And there was kind of a pretty good punk rock scene going on in the town I'm from, Norman, when I was like in middle school. So we would kind of go to a place called the Hidden Castle, which looked like a castle built on a really shitty budget. And but it was great. It was kind of an all ages venue. So we would go there when we were in middle school and, bum cigarettes off older kids and listen to punk rock music. And there's just something magical about hearing a guitar played incredibly loud on stage by a bunch of people when you have a live audience. And that was really, really special. And also I had a friend who was a huge Clash fan, and growing up in Oklahoma, he was the first one to get a car, and it wasn't a nice car. And there was a Clash cassette stuck in the cassette radio, and it's like all we listened to. for like a year and a half, and something about all that stuff happening around the same time really kind of lit a fire, and I've been writing songs ever since then.
Now, are you self-taught on the guitar?
Yeah, so I kind of started out self-taught, and then realized I was teaching myself how to play badly, and so then I decided it's time to learn how to play some stuff correctly, and so then I got some lessons and did that for about a year, and then I kind of quit the lessons, and I was armed with a bunch of power chords, which was enough for me, and some bar chords, and then later on, I started to really get better at the guitar and learned how to play other instruments. So I've kind of been kind of a mixed bag, but I've kind of learned from multiple different avenues.
What else do you play besides guitar?
Well, I play guitar pretty good. I play a lot of instruments like really badly. I'm a bad drummer. I'm bad at harmonica. I'm bad at bass. Although, I can get around it because it's, really similar to guitar.
And it's 2 less strings.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Then we've got an accordion downstairs. I can kind of play a little bit of piano. I played some piano on the album, but it was very much just basics. Interesting.
I hear that a lot. Now, I grew up in the Midwest, and I think we can qualify Oklahoma as the Midwest.
I think so. Yeah. People say it's the South, but I always consider it the Midwest.
Yeah. We spend a lot of time driving in the Midwest, and there's that running joke. I don't know if you ever I don't know if you'd ever heard this, but oh, well, if you're flying from Chicago to, I don't know, Wyoming, oh, well, it's only a 4-hour flight. Well, why would I fly? It's only an 8-hour drive.
Yes.
Because we drove everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you see that as more of an annoyance for you, or do you use that time to sort of crawl inside your head and ruminate and think about songs or lyrics or?
Yeah, that's a great question. I grew up in Oklahoma, and I've lived here my entire life, so I'm used to driving a lot. And I don't know what I would do if I wasn't kind of like driving, but it has turned into a way for me to work on stuff in my head. So I will write songs in my head, trying to write a novel. And so I'll kind of outline different chapter ideas in my head. And I really do get a lot done just driving around the highway, listening to the radio really loudly, or just having everything on mute and kind of being my own radio in my head.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Can you share a story with us about a specific place or experience in Oklahoma that's directly inspired any of your lyrics? Sub question: how do you translate that to make that universally appealing?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So I've got a song called Here and Not Here, and that one is kind of about a relationship that I have that fell apart. One thing that we would do when we were dating a lot is we would kind of go to parks, like after the bar was closed, and we would just sit and talk, talk about our life, talk about our past, talk about what we wanted in the future. And that's an interesting experience because it's so universal. I feel like a lot of people do that everywhere. You go to bars, you go do whatever, and then you kind of retreat into a kind of a nature area, a quiet area to talk. And I think there's a lot of kind of universal truths out there, no matter sort of which area you grow up in.
More fresh waterways, more industry, more agriculture than any other region in the world. This is the Midwest, heartland of the nation.
The Midwestern work ethic. There's a line from Just Like Me. You can be from the Midwest and you can be second best just like me. But there is this Midwestern work ethic.
The work ethic is different, I think.
It is.
In the Midwest, we're just used to kind of working all the time, and we don't expect a lot of things to be given to us. There's always exceptions to that rule, but we're considered a flyover state, and so there's a bit of an attitude that comes along with that. You become a little scrappy if you're really trying to, sometimes compete with people from other places.
Because I have a friend of mine. She knew I grew up in Ohio, and she's like, "What's Ohio like? Is it just like farmlands?" And I'm like, "No. Have you ever seen a John Hughes movie? It's like that. There are cities, there are suburbs, there are farms. Of course there are, but." She's like, "Really?" You must have an incredible work ethic because you do construction work in addition to your music.
Yeah. So the construction stuff is it's a full-time job and a half. I mean, it's like over 60 hours a week.
Oof.
Which doesn't leave as much time as I would want to work on the art stuff. But you kind of just find ways to get around it. So get off work late, and then you just go to work on the stuff that you're passionate about. And one day I hope that I can, I'm sure musicians say this all the time, one day hopefully I'll be able to support myself just with art. But in the meantime, I've got to find a way to support the art with a day job. And I do like my day job, but it is a lot of hours.
Yeah. You mentioned something in your bio that I found particularly interesting because I share a similar sentiment in that this is a quote, "I definitely like creating anything I can from scratch. For me, building houses is a sort of the same thing as songwriting. You create something that wasn't there and design it and shape it as you go along. Where there was nothing, there is now something." And that really resonated with me. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, it's very true. Creating an album is really hard. Creating a podcast is really hard. I'm sure, as you can attest, although you make it look easy. Building houses is really hard.
Yes.
But there's something about starting a project, finishing it, seeing it done, and then moving on to the next, which is really nice. So kind of for you, maybe interviewing me and then interviewing somebody else the next day and having the old one be done, and then you're on to something kind of fresh. I just get really bored doing the same task over and over again. So I like things that are challenging. And I just think that so neat to have something to hold on to and be like, well, I did this, I started this podcast, I made this album, I started this business. Anything really like that, I think is so important to give yourself like a sense of pride.
If you're building a house, it is somewhat similar to building a song, right? Because you're building a kitchen. Each room could be like a separate track.
It really is amazing. I find how many parallels there are between songwriting and building a house or writing a novel. I've tried to do a lot of different things in my lifetime, and it's amazing how much they'll bleed into each other, and I'll find things that kind of make it better. It's kind of difficult to explain, but definitely understanding how to write a song and how to build tension and how to have kind of a payoff and how something has to go somewhere and how you can't kind of overload people. You need to be careful with where you're putting things. Definitely applies to design when you're doing a house. And definitely when you're writing a novel, it's such a slow play that you learn how to be patient. Songs are much quicker as far as enjoyment. It's much more difficult to write a novel as far as the time that it takes to do it. Although making albums takes a long time.
Yes.
So it's kind of like the little miniature chapters. But yeah, I just think it's important to keep your eyes open and be able to take anything from any sort of job you have and find a way to apply it somewhere else.
How did you choose Get Up Kid to be the first single?
Yeah, I didn't choose it. I'm working with some really great people, and they recommended it as a single, and I was shocked. I didn't see that one as a single at all. But I don't have a monopoly on being right. And, and so, yeah, I'm glad I chose, what they chose.
Yeah,
I probably would have played some weirder shit to start off with.
That's a great way to put it. I don't have a monopoly on being right.
I think that Get Up Kid song is kind of approachable. It's a big rock and roll song. It's fun to play. It's so loud, aggressive.
Talk to us a little bit about Get Up Kid. Now, the Midwest can be known as the Bible Belt.
People love Jesus here.
Yes, they do. Walk us through what you mean by, do you want to live or die on your knees? Because I think there was some, I could pull different meanings from that for myself. What were you thinking as you wrote that?
Yeah, I mean, that song is really political. I mean, it's, politicians don't care about us. It's all way too obvious. We definitely, I think people feel that way on both sides, whether or not they're a Republican or a Democrat. And that song is really just about dealing with adversity and just sticking to your guns. And, even if things aren't going your way, even if the political system isn't what you want it to be, you got to be willing to kind of fight for what you want. And it definitely can be interpreted a lot of different ways, but the song is certainly talking about, politicians screwing people, and somebody being fed up with that and kind of being willing to get up even if they're knocked down by their circumstances.
Yes. I think it was the knees thing that got me.
The which thing?
The knees that got me, with some sort of religious undertone, because people kneel when they pray.
That is completely true. I wasn't thinking about religion when I wrote that, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't there subconsciously. Because this is definitely the Bible Belt, and prayer is something that's really important, and definitely people will kind of retreat into religion and hope for better things after they die than trying to fight for things now.
Yeah. Is that something that's a part of your life, religion?
I grew up Methodist.
Okay.
And I have respect for religion, a bunch of different religions, but I don't go to church very often. I do pray every once in a while, because you asked, but I literally pray like a fucking hippie. I pray to the universe, prayers of like gratitude, shit like that.
No, I mean, my brother is an atheist, and for the longest time he thought I was an atheist.
Right.
And I'm like, no, I mean, I don't know. I'm not ruling out the possibility. I honestly, I can't say concretely one way or the other. So much like you, I will pray, but I'll pray out to, I don't know, out.
Yes.
Just hope that it lands somewhere. I'll send, and this sounds hippie-ish, but I'll send somebody, good vibes, That's a prayer of sorts for me,
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting we're having this conversation, because I don't know if, I can't remember the last time I talked about this with anybody, but that's the way I feel about it. Kind of like vibes, sending vibes, trying to be there for people, or sending energy their way, because ultimately we are kind of beings of energy, so to speak. Not to be too fucking hippie-ish, but literally, we're energy. And so you kind of send good vibes to people, I think, and you can be supportive of them, and you can kind of reach out into the universe and try to manifest things. For me, though, I just don't like asking for things. And so I try to frame thing as like a gratitude, like I'm appreciative of this situation. And I don't have any sort of explanation for why I do it that way. That's just kind of how I do it. But yeah, I mean, I literally pray to the universe.
I didn't go to Vietnam just to have pansies like you take my freedom away from me.
You went to Vietnam in 1993 to open up a sweatshop.
And a lot of good men died in that sweatshop.
Oh my God, you're out of your mind.
Look. Do you come from a musical family?
I mean, my sister was a really good violinist. She went on scholarship to college for it. But my parents, they like music, but they don't play instruments. And definitely they didn't. When I was writing songs as a kid, they were like, "What is this? Any Tom Petty? Like, you've been playing the same thing over and over again for 2 weeks. It's not going anywhere." And it's like, well, I'm trying to figure out the chorus. They're like, "What do you mean?" Like, we'll go buy you some fucking Tom Petty CD, albums. Why don't you learn how to play some of that stuff? But they kind of came along later on, and it's kind of cool seeing them sort of see it now that things are a little bit more tangible.
Yeah. And you'll forgive me, is this your first record?
It is. Yeah. So it's the first one. Kind of halfway through with the second one, and I've got a mountain of songs I want to go record. It's mostly just I don't have as much free time as I would like. But I think a lot of people feel that way. But I'm very excited for the second album. I think it's going to be a lot better than the first one. And
will you be touring behind this record?
Currently, I'm not. But I'm really hoping some people really latch onto some of these songs, and then we can sort of start touring around the country. I would love that.
What is the music scene like for you in Oklahoma City?
It's good. It's really good. Yeah, there's a bunch of really good places to play around here, and Tower Theater is one that I really like. Beer City Music Hall is another really good one. There's a bunch of kind of smaller venues for different people, and there's also a bunch of large ones. Oklahoma City is a really cool town. It just keeps kind of growing every single year. They're talking about building the biggest skyscraper in America in Oklahoma City, which seems weird as fuck, but I'm all for it. So they should do that.
Don't you get a lot of tornadoes? And
we get all the tornadoes. You know?
we get all of them. Okay.
Are you a fan of tornadoes, Keith? Because
I'm not a fan. I'm ambivalent about them, but it seems like a bad idea to build the world's largest skyscraper in the state that gets all the tornadoes.
Well, you just got to build it bigger than a tornado, right? Then tornado proof? I don't know. I went to the University of Oklahoma for college, and I took some meteorology classes, and people would come from all over the country to go to OU because we have so many tornadoes. And I guess we have more tornadoes than every single state combined. So we got that going for us. It's pretty nice.
I shouldn't laugh, but it strikes me as funny.
Well, it is. You know, people from Oklahoma have a different mentality about tornadoes. Like, I mean, we see the devastation, but also like during a tornado, you'll walk outside, you know, which is crazy, but it's what you do. And your neighbors are just standing out there drinking beers, staring at the clouds, you know, waiting for a tornado to descend from the heavens. So it's just, I guess people in other states probably have the same thing with different stuff, maybe like earthquakes and hurricanes, but it's kind of, we're just so used to tornadoes. You know, we take precautions, of course, when the tornadoes get closer. But
in what ways do you think your music reflects the cultural or social atmosphere of the Midwest?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I'm definitely kind of more liberal, and I live in a place that's, you know, more kind of conservative. So I'm able to kind of see things from other people's perspectives. You know, I can see things from a very conservative perspective because I live with people who are kind of like that a lot. And that kind of ties into my ability to be able to get along with just about anybody from any different, you know, kind of political background or anything like that. And then Oklahoma has a lot of like folk music and country music. A lot of folk music and country singers come from Oklahoma. So I don't write a lot of folk songs or country songs, but every once in a while, one will just kind of slip in. Or I'll just start writing, you know, like a hard rock song and be like, well, you know, this could totally be stripped down and just be a simple folk song or a country song. So sometimes things kind of permeate in ways that are a little bit hard to explain. But I'm definitely pulling influences from a wide genre of spectrum of things.
It's a weird time in our country. Weirdest in my lifetime. What do you think the responsibility or the role of an artist is in addressing the weirdness, for lack of a better phrase? Do you think the artist has a responsibility?
That's such a hard question. I think that artists in general are just kind of lightning rods. You know, we're attracting energy and just kind of safely moving it around. And we're kind of really tied into what's going on at a subconscious level. So I think that, you know, most artists, if they're being honest, this stuff is probably just coming out of them because it's all around them. And if you're living and writing about your life, it's hard not to notice the insanity that is on the news or in the newspaper, you know, on TV. And I don't know if it's necessarily a responsibility, but I think that there's like an honesty about writing about what you know. And I think that comes through. So I think it's important to kind of tell your truth, so to speak, without being preachy. You know, if you feel something, you should, if something is bullshit, like you should probably say it's bullshit. maybe you can find a way to say it that's nice or poetic or whatever. But I think you got to speak your mind.
Your song Last Bastion,
Mm-hmm.
which Bastion is one of my favorite words. I love using that. But you'd mentioned there was a grunge vibe to it. I heard more Bowie.
Really?
I did. I heard some Bowie there, and I was like, wow, all right. That's what I heard.
Man, I love it. I love David Bowie. He's, if I'm taking a road trip, David Bowie has to be in there somewhere. So I don't think that I write like David Bowie, but if I'm doing that subconsciously, I am totally on board. That's totally, David Bowie is one of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
When I was writing that song, I was thinking more kind of like a Radiohead type vibe, but a really kind of more aggressive in some ways, although Radiohead can be aggressive, and kind of like a grunge thing. And then I really liked that there were all those different kind of guitar parts, and it all kind of came together. One thing that was interesting about that song is like the chorus, I think you're right about me. I just kept saying that kind of over and over again. And I was like, am I saying this too much? And they're just like, everybody I kind of showed it to was like, no, that's, there's something interesting about saying that over and over again, almost like it gets stuck in your head. And that is kind of what's happening in the song. So I was really happy with the way that one turned out. And I just love the guitar parts. I think that my songwriting is going a lot in that direction.
Oh, good. I think I missed the Radiohead parallels because I'm not a huge Radiohead fan, and I don't know outside of Pablo Honey or the Bends. I'm tapped out.
Yeah.
They never. It's a band that never resonated with me, so I think I miss a lot of that crossover that's probably there with artists.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely, that song has so many different parts, and that's definitely something you could see Bowie do. Is just not be stagnant, have a lot of different movement in his songs.
Leading role. Is that you singing?
No, that's actually Ken Pomeroy is the girl singer in that.
Okay.
Actually, her voice matches really well with Johnny Manchild's voice, and so he ended up singing kind of on that one too.
Johnny did?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But that song to me, I told you I play a lot of instruments and most of them badly. That was definitely me just fucking around on a piano. And then suddenly I had a dance song, which wasn't like any of the other songs on the album. And I just thought it'd be cool to have a female vocalist on it. And Ken Pomeroy is from Norman, and she's just incredible. And it's really kind of going for an 80s feel. And I like that song a lot.
Mission accomplished, because my note is it could be right at home. We name checked John Hughes earlier. It could be right at home in a John Hughes movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. That was exactly what I got from it.
Can we call him up? Let's
He's dead.
Makes it a little more difficult.
Harder to reach.
Yes. But yeah, I would love, Stranger Things or something like that. Have a song like that in there. It's totally in vibe.
But if you'll excuse me now.
Oh? Why?
Why, I'd like to go up to my room for a moment.
To call up that girlfriend of yours again? Sit down.
How far along are you on your second record?
I would say I'm about halfway done. There's some songs I want to add to it. I'm working on some kind of scratch tracks right now. Kind of all over the place. One of them is like a pure punk song. One of them sounds vaguely like a Jason Mraz song. One of them is a R&B gospel kind of ish song. And another one's a hard rock song. So
gospel fish?
Gospel like R&B type stuff. Are you referring to Fish the band?
Yeah, I thought I heard you say fish, and I was like,
oh, no.
Okay, all right.
But that sounds fucking fun. I'm gonna take that as a writing prompt.
That sounds like a mushroom song. Gospel, R&B, and fish.
Yes, I'll call you when I'm writing it for sure.
Please, I want to hear the finished product on that one. The record Here and Not Here is out now. Where can fans pick it up, and where can they find you?
Yeah, you can pick it up on iTunes. The songs are also on Spotify and Pandora, and YouTube. Okay. You can buy the CD or the record in multiple different places. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, and I'm out there. So hoping to build an audience over the next couple of years, and I'm really looking forward to this second album. I know it's going to be better than the first one, so it's been a fun ride, and I can't wait to share more of my music with people.
Sweet. I can't wait to hear more of it. There's one last thing I got for you, Jordin. Now, the name of the podcast is Abandoned Albums.
Mm-hmm.
Do you yourself have an abandoned album? Now, that's a pretty wide understanding. It could be a band that you like that, a particular record didn't get as much recognition as it should have, or something that fell off the radar, a band that you particularly like, something that you think people should know. Give an album its props.
It's a really good question. Which band would I... I'm probably going to have to go with the local. I'm going to go with Johnny Manchild, just because the mixture of jazz and punk rock is so unique. And so I think people should really check out his new album, Rapture Waltz, and also a lot of his kind of old material. But beyond that, it's kind of hard to say which one I think really slipped through the cracks. I know the minute we hang up, I'm going to have like 3, and I'm probably going to email you or something, kind of some ideas. I know I really like the Red House Painters. I know that some of that early work was so good. Like, Have You Forgotten that song? It seems like nobody ever knew that song, but that was one of the prettiest songs I think I've ever heard. So there's definitely one right there that's
okay.
Never really gets its due.
Sweet. See, you had more than you think.
That's right.
Thank you for playing along. And And thank you for the kind words about my dog, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, Rufus is a cutie back there. Yeah, just thanks for having me on. This has been so much fun.
It has been great. I love chatting with you guys, and I know it seems a little scatterbrained, but it all comes together really nicely.
Good. Scatterbrained is the only brain I have, so we're on the same wavelength.
Jordin, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and hit end.
Big thank you to Jordin for chatting with us. We've got links to all of Mapping the Sky's works in our show notes. Extra special thanks to Dana Gordon for making it happen.
This episode of Abandoned Albums was written and produced by Keith R. Higgins. The show was recorded at Thunderlove Studio, where it was engineered by
Daphne Morris,
with help from
Penetration.
Abandoned Albums was edited by
Vic Titball,
with help from
Clem Fandango.
At the beginning of this podcast, you were treated to a diverse selection of music, including the soulful sounds of Forever by Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul, the indie vibes of Velvet Roof by Buffalo Tom, and the raw energy of Nevermind by The Replacements. Our theme song is Kiss the Earth by The Renegades. You can stream all of these artists wherever you stream your favorite music. All of the songs you heard during this podcast can be found on Mapping the Sky's debut album, Here and Not Here. Those songs were Home, the title track, Here and Not Here, Just Like Me, Get Up Kid, Last Bastion, and lastly, Leading Role. You can find Mapping the Sky on all your favorite streaming platforms, and we've included links to the album in the show notes. Please remember to support independent music.
Original music by Mike Pellegrino.
If you like what you've heard, please remember to subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps other people find the podcast. Thanks for listening.
Grazie.
Bailey Leaf,
Rob Janicki, Mike Pellegrino, Farina Bella,
Eric Beatner, S.W. Loudon, Ronnie Barnett,
Michael Janicki, Peyton Janicki.
This show's executive producer is Lulu McGillicuddy and is in the loving memory of
Rufus Thunderlove.
Abandoned Albums receives funding from Damon Pharmaceuticals, the makers of Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck is the only chewable tablet made to combat stomach unease associated with mediocrity. Taken daily, Ben Affleck can help combat explosive gastrointestinal shame. You can find a multitude of flavors in the incontinence section of your local pharmacy. Ben Affleck, save yourself the embarrassment.
The side effects include dry mouth, headache, anal leakage, muscle soreness, bad decisions, gender confusion, constipation, evil spirit possession, and banality. Use only as directed.
And now, until we meet again next time, I remain as always obediently yours.
Abandoned Albums is a production of Paw Print Media.